Okay, good morning everyone. Today we'll start with another topic in immunology, very interesting topic which is called hypersensitivity. So all of you must have heard about this hypersensitivity, and a very common term what we use regularly is allergy. So we are going to see how exactly allergy happens and what are the different reasons and what are the different types of allergic response that happens in the body. Okay, this is the hypersensitivity. From the term itself you will understand that it is something which is over exaggerated reaction. Hypersensitivity. Okay, hypersensitivity means it's not normal, something which is too high. Okay, so the definition for hypersensitivity is it is an exaggerated reaction of the immune system. Okay, whenever the immune system react to an allergic substance or the compound which enters into the body, which will be identified as an allergen. So you know that our body is exposed to different types of foreign particle. All those foreign particles are considered as antigen. Okay, when this antigen enters into the body, a normal reaction happens. Antigen enters, and you know what are the process, the processing, presentation, then identification by T helper cell, cytokine, release of cytokine which activate the B cell, and B cell produces antibodies. This is the normal process which will be happening, or the entire antibody production process will take 7 to 14 days of time period, and you know that we have discussed this particular process several times. But some of the food particle, when it enters into the body, not only food, any other particle, foreign particle, when it enters into the body, our immune system will react to that particular foreign particle in a very different, peculiar way. That is why it is known as, the allergic response is known as the exaggerated response. So the ability of immune system to respond inappropriately to antigenic challenge. So what is the definition for hypersensitivity? And the ability of immune system to respond inappropriately to an antigenic challenge is called as the hypersensitivity. Or you can also say that it is an exaggerated response that causes damage to the individual. So you can very well say that it is an over exaggerated reaction of the immune system to a foreign particle. That is why we all will get people, those who are allergic to different substances, they will get this particular problem which is called as the hypersensitivity. Fine. Now there are different types of hypersensitivity. We all of us are familiar with one type of hypersensitivity. You take some foreign particle like a food or something, when you touch some surface like some insect, or when you touch on some of the plants, or also especially you can see that immediately so much of itching will be there, redness can be seen, and then pain will be there, and sometimes when you inhale something, so much of sneezing will be there, water will be coming out of the nose and eyes, and then you will have so much of discomfort will be seen. So we consider this as the allergic response. That is what we are going to see now, the exaggerated reaction, what we are commonly familiar with. But there are 4 different types of allergic response. Or you can categorize them into major 2 types. One is known as immediate hypersensitivity. Second one is known as the delayed hypersensitivity. Now first of all, what do you mean by immediate hypersensitivity? You are getting exposed to something, immediately the reaction will be seen, and within no time your body will respond, and all the allergic symptoms will be seen. That is known as the immediate hypersensitivity. Immediate hypersensitivity, there are 3 types: type 1, type 2 and type 3. Whereas some of the allergic response, it will not happen quickly, after some few days, or sometimes after months, or sometimes after years also, allergic response or hypersensitivity will be seen. That is known as the delayed hypersensitivity. So there are 2 types, 2 major types: immediate hypersensitivity. Second one is known as the delayed hypersensitivity. In the case of immediate hypersensitivity, the reaction is very quick. There are 3 types of immediate hypersensitivity: type 1, type 2 and type 3. Delayed is only one, that is type 4. Fine. Now first we are going to see today's class. It's a very interesting topic, that is the immunoglobulin E mediated type 1 hypersensitivity. Today we are going to discuss only about the type 1 hypersensitivity. Listen carefully and understand the concept. By listening to the class itself, you should understand the concept. You need not read it again and again. So I will make it very simple. Okay, so you commonly the type 1 hypersensitivity is usually mediated by some of the food particle when you consume some of the food. There are so many people, some of you in your class also, some of you might have been experiencing this, like when you eat something, especially nuts. Okay, some of the seafood people, when they eat, they will have this immediately. They can see that allergic response. Some of the fruits, some vegetables, some nuts. Okay, all these food items create type 1 hypersensitivity. Some people are hypersensitive to some of the drugs. When they consume the drug, they will have this hypersensitivity, breathlessness, and all those symptoms will be seen. Sometimes when they apply some of the cream or lotion or face creams, a fairness cream, and when they apply, some people will get this allergic response. Sometimes, which is called as the contact dermatitis, also you must have seen that people when you touch on surface of some of the thing, like there are some plants also, when you touch on that, you will have the itchy. Some of the insects also, when you touch, because of the particle which is there on the surface of them, you will have this allergic response. So all those things are coming under the immediate hypersensitivity. Now what exactly happens in the immediate hypersensitivity is when your body is exposed to an allergen for the first time in your lifetime. When you are exposed to an allergen for the first time, the reaction will not be seen. You might not have experienced anything, but when your body encounter with the same allergen for the second time, the reaction will be very quick. So whoever is allergic to some of the substance, the first time when you have taken that particular food, very few people will have little symptoms will be seen, like itching or rashes or something like that. But many of them, in the first exposure to an allergen, there will not be any symptoms at all. But when they get exposed to the second time with the same antigen, quickly, within no time, the reaction will be seen. Now we are going to see what is the exact reason behind this particular process. Clear? All of you listen carefully. This is what happens when your body gets exposed to an allergen. So this one, the diagram, in this diagram I have mentioned B cell. You know that B cells are also antigen presenting cells. It can be either macrophages, B cells, or your dendritic cell, any cell. But the diagram I have mentioned B cell. Don't think that only B cell will identify the allergen, nothing like that. Okay, when you take some allergic, some particle, foreign particle, when you are taking, say for example, as I told you earlier, some of the food particle. Okay, some people will be allergic to some of the protein like serum, vaccine, food such as nut, seafood, egg, peas, milk, insect products such as bee venom, and then anti-venom, some of the insect venom, drugs such as penicillin or local anesthetics. Some people are allergic to animal hair, dander, and then some of them are allergic to pollen grain, dust. So many list is, a very big list is there, which can activate the IgE mediated type 1 hypersensitivity. So imagine that you are getting exposed to the allergen for the first time. What exactly happening here? The allergen is identified by the antigen presenting cells. What are the antigen presenting cells? It can be either macrophages or B cells or dendritic cell. Any one of the cell will identify it, and you can see within the cell I have mentioned, have drawn some arrows that indicates that it is undergoing antigen processing and presentation. So when a foreign particle enters into the body, antigen processing and presentation happens, and the antigen, the peptide, will be presented along with which MHC? Remember, class 2 MHC molecule. So this is the class 2 MHC molecule which will express the peptide, the processed antigen. So once the processed antigen is peptide is presented along with the class 2 MHC, what is going to happen? Who is going to identify them? T helper cells. I have given here T helper cell. Two receptors are there. What are those two? One is TCR, another one is the CD4. So the TCR along with CD4 will identify the peptide. Signaling event will happen. The product of that is cytokine. Cytokine will activate the B cell, and B cell differentiate into two. What are those two? Plasma cell and the memory cell. Till that all of you are clear with that, because I have told you several times. Now once the plasma cell, memory cells will be there in the body. Now the function of the plasma cell is, since it is an allergen, it will start producing immunoglobulin E. You know that first it will be immunoglobulin G. Whatever foreign particle enter into the body, it will be immunoglobulin G. Later, after few days of time period, excess amount of immunoglobulin E will be synthesized, because that is the one which will mediate the, whenever there is a hyperactivation of the immune system, immunoglobulin E will be synthesized. So immunoglobulin E which is synthesized, they will bind to the receptors which are present on two types of cells. One is known as mast cell, another one is known as the basophil. You have heard about both the cells in previous classes. As I have mentioned about the basophils and the mast cells. So basophil and mast cell, they have a receptor. Okay, the receptor is known as the FCER. Okay, mast cells, excess amount of immunoglobulin E will be synthesized, and these immunoglobulin E will go and occupy on the receptors which are present on two cells. What are those two? Mast cells and basophil. What is the receptor present on them? FCER, meaning FC receptor which can bind to the immunoglobulin E. FCER, immunoglobulin E, FC binds with this particular receptor. So all this immunoglobulin, this portion is known as the FC portion. FC portion of the IgE that binds with the FCER receptor, and it will stay there for a longer time. The half-life of this immunoglobulin E is very few days, like 1 to 2 days only. But once it binds to the receptor, it can be there for months, or sometimes it can be there for more than months also, like years also it can be there when it is bound to the FCER. Clear? Now their first exposure to an antigen, you will not be having any symptom, but all your basophil and mast cells are ready with all the weapons. What is the weapon here? Immunoglobulin E. It is bound to the mast cells and the basophil. After, imagine that you are getting exposed to this particular allergen after some years, or after some months, or after some weeks, months or years. Second exposure to the same antigen. So this is the allergen the body encountered with. Now the second exposure to the same allergen, what happens is, already immunoglobulin E is there. As soon as your body gets exposed to the allergen will bind to the immunoglobulin E receptor. As soon as allergen binds to the immunoglobulin E receptor, a cell signaling event will happen which will activate the expression of many granules within the cells of basophil and mast cells. Those granules are the histamines, and it can be leukotrienes or prostaglandin. Okay, histamines are coming under the primary granule, and once the signaling happens, so this round things which I have mentioned is known as the primary granule, that is histamine. It is already there in the cell. Now the secondary granules production will happen once the allergen bind to the bound immunoglobulin E. So they are prostaglandins and the leukotrienes. So primary granule and secondary granule will accumulate within the mast cell and basophil, and then the degranulation process happens, wherein the granules comes out, and these granules which comes out of the basophil and mast cell, they will activate smooth muscle contraction, vasodilation, mucus secretion, platelet activation, and bronchial congestion. That is why people will have that breathing trouble will be there. Vasodilation, so much of dilation will be there, and because of that only you can see rashes, itching and all. Platelet activation, that is the reason for itching. And mucus secretion will be there, sneezing and mucus secretion can be seen, smooth muscle contraction, and they feel very weak, tired. All those symptoms will be seen because of the granules which comes out of the mast cell and the basophil. This is how the allergic response happens. What are the steps involved in it? First time when your body exposed to an allergen, the antigen presenting cells will identify it, process it, present it along with the class 2 MHC molecule, which will be identified by the T helper cell with the receptor TCR and CD4. Once after identifying it, T helper cells will release cytokines. Cytokines will activate the production of plasma cell and memory cell. Plasma cells will be secreting which antibody? Immunoglobulin E, because that is the one which will be activated during the allergen with allergic response. So whenever hyperactivation of the immune system is there, immunoglobulin E will be synthesized. Now once after the synthesis, what happens to the immunoglobulin E? It is not like other antibody. It will be searching for a receptor. What is that receptor? FCER. Where are they present? These receptors are present on mast cells and the basophil. So thereby the IgE will go and occupy on the receptor. Okay. Now that's all. It will bind there, but nothing will happen. Now no allergic symptoms will be seen. And second exposure to the same antigen, what happens is when the allergen bind to the antibody, the degranulation happens. Excess amount of granules codes for histamine, prostaglandin and leukotriene that will be accumulated within the mast cells, and once after the accumulation it will be released out. That process is called as the degranulation. So whenever the degranulation happens, smooth muscle contraction will be there, vasodilation, mucus secretion, platelet activation can be seen, and also you can see bronchial congestion. So these are some of the symptoms of the type 1 allergic response. Clear? So what are the mediators of type 1 hypersensitivity reaction? One is allergen. What are the different types of allergen? I already told you. It can be either proteins such as serum and vaccine, food such as nut, seafood, egg, peas and milk, insect products such as bee venom, anti-venom, insect venom, drugs such as penicillin or local anesthetics, then animal hair, dander, pollen grain, all these things are coming under the allergen. So component of the type 1 reaction, the first one is allergen, second one is immunoglobulin E. So normally immunoglobulin E level in normal individual is 0.1 to 0.4 microgram per ml. So what is the concentration? 0.4 to 0.4 microgram per ml. That is the 0.1 to 0.4, maximum 0.4 microgram per ml will be seen in a normal individual. But allergic individuals will have 1 microgram per ml of the immunoglobulin E. So this is the second component of the type 1 hypersensitivity reaction, that is immunoglobulin E. Okay, immunoglobulin E, they can bind to a receptor called as the Fc receptor. Half-life of immunoglobulin E, normally it is 2 to 3 days, but once it binds to the Fc receptor, it will be stable for number of weeks. And third component of the of this type 1 hypersensitivity reaction is mast cells and basophil, and the another major one is the receptor. So this is the receptor. So what are the different components? One is allergen, second one is your mast cells and basophil, third one is immunoglobulin E, and fourth one is the immunoglobulin E receptor. Fine, done. Now what are the different molecular events happens during this particular process? So it's explained with the cell signaling event. So it's a very interesting cell signaling event, very simple. By looking at the diagram, don't think that I am not going to study this. It's a very simple cell signaling event. Now I am going to explain what exactly happens in the second exposure. So these are the immunoglobulin E, which is bound to the mast cells and basophil. Allergen will bind there. As soon as allergen, where are these immunoglobulin E bound? They are bound to a receptor called as the FCER. What is FCER? Immunoglobulin E Fc binding receptor, Fc region binding receptor. So you can see here the black color one, that is the FCER. On top of that your immunoglobulin E is there. Immunoglobulin E is bound to the allergen. When your body is getting exposed to the allergen for the second time, it binds there. As soon as allergen binds there, signaling event will get activated. The first compound which gets activated here is PTK. What is PTK? Protein tyrosine kinase. Protein tyrosine kinase. Tyrosine kinase is an enzyme which is present in the receptor FCER receptor. It is associated with the protein tyrosine. Okay, tyrosine kinase enzyme. This protein tyrosine kinase enzyme that will activate the receptor itself. Meaning the tyrosine kinase you have studied in the first semester. The tyrosine kinase enzymes are the one which can phosphorylate the tyrosine residues which are there in the receptor. Okay, so I'll rub here and I'll show you. So this is the Fc receptor which is there on the membrane. Okay, this Fc receptor, it has tyrosine residues. Tyrosine amino acids are there. So when this protein tyrosine kinase gets activated, PTK will activate the tyrosine, and tyrosine residues will get phosphorylated. What is the function of kinase enzyme? Addition of phosphate group, where they will add the phosphate group to the tyrosine residues of the receptor. Receptor get phosphorylated, and phosphorylated receptor will act as a docking site for many cytoplasmic protein. What do you mean by docking site? Binding site. So once the receptor is phosphorylated, so this is the tyrosine residue, it get phosphorylated. Once it phosphorylated, many cytoplasmic protein can bind there. So phosphorylated tyrosine residue will act as the docking site. and some of the signaling proteins will bind there, and finally the protein tyrosine kinase, the phosphorylation of the receptor will activate two processes. What are those two processes? One, first I am explaining one mechanism. It will activate one of the enzyme called as the phospholipase C. Okay, lipase enzyme. What do you mean by the function? What is the function of lipase enzyme? Lipase enzyme is the one which can do the hydrolysis of the lipid. Okay, phospholipase enzyme. That means it can degrade the, it can hydrolyze the phospholipid. So the phosphorylated tyrosine kinase, the signaling event will activate one of the enzymes, cytoplasmic enzyme called as the phospholipase C. What is the function of phospholipase C? Phospholipase C can hydrolyze the phospholipid. Which phospholipid will get hydrolyzed? So this is for your understanding. I made it like this. In the plasma membrane is made up of different types of phospholipid. One kind of phospholipid is known as the PIP2. Have you heard of PIP2? Phosphatidyl inositol diphosphate. Phosphatidyl inositol, PI, phosphatidyl inositol, P2 stands for diphosphate, PIP2. Okay, PIP2 is one of the phospholipid. The black color one is the other phospholipid. PIP2 I have mentioned I have drawn in red color. So this PIP2 will undergo hydrolysis. Phospholipase C that will mediate hydrolysis of a phospholipid called as PIP2, phosphatidyl inositol diphosphate, which will hydrolyze into two products. One is known as DAG. What is DAG? Diacylglycerol. Another one is known as the IP3. IP3 stands for inositol triphosphate. Everything is very easy. Just to remember the sequence of events. What are the first step? Now, the protein tyrosine kinase gets activated. The activation of protein tyrosine kinase will activate an enzyme called as the phospholipase C. Phospholipase, as the name suggests, it will do the hydrolysis of the phospholipid. Which phospholipid will undergo hydrolysis? PIP2. What is PIP2? Phosphatidyl inositol diphosphate. PIP2 undergo hydrolysis into two. What are those two? One is DAG. What is DAG? Diacylglycerol. Another one is known as the IP3. What is IP3? Inositol triphosphate. As soon as the IP3 is formed, this I have explained you in another cell signaling also, and one more cell signaling also. You have to study the same thing. Okay, IP3, inositol triphosphate, that can activate the release of the calcium. In our body, calcium stores are there. What are the calcium stores? Calcium stores are the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Function of smooth endoplasmic reticulum is it can store the calcium. So whenever your body need calcium, calcium will be released from the smooth endoplasmic reticulum by the signaling event. Now for the degranulation process to happen, we need calcium. Thereby IP3 binds there. Binding of IP3 will open the calcium pump and calcium comes out of the endoplasmic reticulum. Now the calcium is ready for the allergic response to happen. Now PTK can activate. Protein tyrosine kinase is the one which has done all these things and calcium is released out. Protein tyrosine kinase can activate one more signaling pathway, that is called as the conversion of for another type of phospholipid called as the phosphatidylserine. You have heard about three different types of phospholipid: phosphatidylserine or PS. Another one is called as PE, phosphatidylethanolamine, and the third one is called as the phosphatidylcholine. You would have studied this one under the lipid biosynthesis chapter in biochemistry. So three different types of phospholipid: phosphatidylserine, phosphatidylethanolamine, and phosphatidylcholine. Now this protein tyrosine kinase can convert phosphatidylserine to phosphatidylethanolamine to phosphatidylcholine. So the phospholipids, phosphatidylserine, which is present on the membrane, that will be converted to phosphatidylcholine. Once the phosphatidylcholine is formed, arachidonic acid, phosphatidylcholine will undergo hydrolysis and it will be converted to arachidonic acid. This arachidonic acid will activate, or that will help in the synthesis, or that will be activating the production of prostaglandin and the leukotrienes. Prostaglandin and leukotrienes are the secondary granule. As soon as allergen binds there, excess amount of prostaglandin and leukotrienes will be synthesized. Now once it is synthesized, it will be there in the form of a granules. Okay, so granules will be within the vesicle. Once all the vesicle accumulate there, the vesicle has to fuse to the membrane of the mast cell and basophil. So this is the membrane of mast cell and basophil. Remember that, mast cell and basophil membrane. Now once the vesicle with the histamines and the secondary granules such as prostaglandin and leukotrienes are ready, this has to bind to the membrane for the degranulation to happen. For that purpose, calcium is needed. Already calcium is released and it is ready there. This calcium will help in the fusion of this vesicle to the membrane, and thereby the degranulation happens. Easy? I think it is easy. I will explain it once again. Whenever your body gets exposed to the allergen, allergen binds to the immunoglobulin E, and once after the binding, it will activate one of the enzyme which is present in the near the FCE receptor. That receptor is called as the PTK. What is PTK? Protein tyrosine kinase. Protein tyrosine kinase will do two functions. The first function is protein tyrosine kinase will activate an enzyme called as phospholipase C. Phospholipase C will do the hydrolysis of PIP2. What is PIP2? Phosphatidylinositol diphosphate. PIP2 hydrolyzed into two. One is diacylglycerol, another one is the IP3. What is the function of IP3? IP3 diffuses through the cytoplasm and move in search of the IP3 receptor. Where are they present? They are present on the calcium store of the body, that is SCR. What is SCR? Smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Calcium comes out and calcium will be there in the cytoplasm. Simultaneously, protein tyrosine kinase will activate the conversion of phosphatidylserine to phosphatidylethanolamine to phosphatidylcholine. Once the phosphatidylcholine accumulate on the membrane, they will get converted to arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid further get converted to prostaglandin and leukotriene. These are the secondary granules. Already primary granules are there in the membrane within the cytoplasm of the basophil and mast cell, and along with that, when leukotrienes and prostaglandins are formed, all these granules, the vesicles will try to fuse to the membrane. For the fusion purpose, it needs calcium. So this calcium which was released from the endoplasmic reticulum, that will help in the fusion of the vesicle to the membrane, and thereby degranulation happens. Fine. So once after the degranulation, as I told you earlier, this degranulation process will activate the allergic symptoms. What are the allergic symptoms? Smooth muscle contraction, vasodilation, mucus secretion, platelet activation, and the bronchial contraction. Now, how will you test the allergic hypersensitivity reaction? So, hypersensitivity type 1 can be checked by skin testing. You must have seen, or you might have heard also sometimes about the skin testing. So when people come to the clinic to identify what kind of allergic response or for which substance they have allergic response, for that purpose when they come, what they do is they will mark region in the skin. Okay, so they will just mark it, divide it into small columns, and each column they will introduce different food particle. So when a patient come to the hospital, doctor will be asking them what all things they had in the previous 1 or 2 days. So whatever they have exposed to or whatever they have consumed, all those things they will test it on the skin. And after a particular time period, they will see how that response is happening, or any allergic response such as redness or anything is seen in that area. That is known as the skin testing. So if a person is allergic to the allergen, local mast cells or degranulation will release the histamines which can be observed, and this reaction is called as the Wheel and Flare reaction. Okay, the reaction which happens by introducing an allergen is called as the Wheel and Flare reaction. How do they do that? Either they will scratch the skin and put it, or they will do the intradermal injection of the allergen and check whether any local reaction is happening there. So if any reaction is happening there, you can confirm that you are allergic to that particular allergen. And the second one is you can do the test which is called as the radio immunoassay, which I have explained you earlier, wherein allergen will be. So during that radial immunoassay, what they do is they will fix the allergen on a solid surface. Okay, so this is the solid surface. On top of that, these are the allergens. Whatever suspected allergens are there, they will fix it on a solid surface. Into this, they add the patient's serum. What is there in the patient's serum? Patient's serum will have the immunoglobulin E. Okay, so if the patient's serum has immunoglobulin E for that particular allergen, immunoglobulin E will bind there and it forms a complex. So this is the allergen and immunoglobulin E will form a complex. So once it forms a complex, you have to add radioactive, radio-labeled immunoglobulin monoclonal antibodies. So this is the radio-labeled one, iodine 131. Labeled monoclonal antibody you can add, which is very specific for the immunoglobulin E. And then you can check the radioactivity. Okay, so this is coming under a type of radio immunoassay. This test, the name of this particular test is radio allergosorbent assay. Radio allergosorbent assay, similar to that of your radio immunoassay. Type 1 hypersensitivity can be controlled medically. How will you control it medically? To control it, once you come to know that you are allergic to a substance, you have to avoid contact with those allergen. That is the first thing. Second one is with the help of some of the drugs such as antihistamines, you can keep this allergic response under control. And immunotherapy is also there, wherein repeated monoclonal antibody injections will be given, thereby this will be under control. So there are many drugs which can control this allergic response, such as cortisons will be given, or theophylline, or any antihistamine. If they take this, type 1 hypersensitivity can be kept under control. So the other coming classes will be discussing about type 2, type 3 and type 4. So type 1, what are the things you need to remember, how exactly it happens, what are the different mediators of type 1 hypersensitivity. As I told you earlier, it is allergen. Then you have to mention about the second one is immunoglobulin E, then the mast cells and basophil, and the receptor which is present on the mast cell and basophil, and then you have to explain about the molecular mechanism that happens in the case of type 1 hypersensitivity reaction. It's a very simple topic, very interesting. Please go through that. If any doubts are there, you can ask me. Thank you so much.